Good evening, everybody. Welcome here to Richmond International Raceway under the lights as it plays host to race 23 of the second season of the FTF Grand National Series presented by Barr Visuals. Tonight, 133 laps on tap for the Tristan Hagenstein Photography 100 as these drivers draw ever closer to the playoffs. 5 races, including tonight, until the playoff grid is put together, and it's time to do a little bit of short track racing here in Virginia. I'm Seth Cole, alongside of Tom Bourne. Tom, here tonight, these drivers the past couple of weeks, they've been treated to mile-and-a-half tracks. They've been treated to some zany road courses last week. Now it's time to get back down to business, and Richmond's kind of almost one of those more spacious short tracks and pretty much known very well in this particular league for long green flag runs. So what are these drivers' mentality? Are they planning for that long run, or are some of these guys planning for the short spurts and the restarts?
Honestly, I think you're gonna have to prepare for both. This track is a very tough track on the tires, on the drivers themselves, and you really got to worry about, being thorough through the entire run. Can't just be good in the short run. You can't be good in the long run because you never know when you're gonna get either of them.
Starting on the pole here tonight, making his 9th start on the season and capturing his first career pole is going to be Alex Kalonix in the 222 Ford Mustang. He'll be starting alongside of Sean Butler, who finished 5th here in last year's event at Richmond. Kalonix coming into this race, as mentioned, in the 9 starts that he's made, only 2 finishes up inside the top 5, and those were back in late March and early April. His best finish, a 2nd place, and that was at Talladega Superspeedway, so obviously trying to finish one position better. Sean Butler trying to get himself a playoff spot here down the home stretch of the regular season. Some familiar names up here towards the front. Rudy Valentine, our winner at Monza. Our points leader, Jonathan Oates, rolling off on the outside of row number 2, as I believe a total of 29 drivers scheduled to take the green flag here tonight for this one. Nighttime conditions here, Tom, so does that mean these drivers are going to have a little bit more grip to work with, or is it going to be the slick short track that we're pretty used to seeing at Richmond?
Well, at the beginning of this run, it's going to be a little slick, but as the night time progresses and whatnot, the temperatures are going to go down on the track, and the drivers are going to go up as the race continues. But on track, they're going to go down, and it should give them a little more grip, but you still got to worry about the tire spin off the corners. The cars get very loose. If you overdrive it, hit the throttle too much, no matter how cold the track is and how much grip you have, it'll still send you around.
Couple of names I noticed towards the back, actually going to be starting this race outside the top 20. You, of course, have Brian Mercurio, who's gone to victory lane a number of times this season, that very familiar 62, rolling off from 21st. Umar Diallo in that 018 back in 23rd. He was actually top of the board in practice, and we know that Andrew Schwartz, every time he comes to the track, he's always fast, but he doesn't usually put a lot of stock in qualifying effort. He's starting back in 24th. How easy is it going to be for these guys to work their way up through the field in terms of traffic control and making their way through what I'm assuming is going to be double wide, maybe even 3 wide at the initial start?
Yeah, with 29, 30 cars in this field, the guys starting in the back are going to have a tough time getting to the front. Like you said, the top guys in practice are starting towards the back. So they got to make sure they stay out of trouble, but also maintain their equipment. Tires are going to be a big thing here, as it is everywhere on iRacing now ever since the new build came out. But they're really going to have to worry about keeping their fenders clean and slowly and methodically working their way up through the field. But, there's not a lot of laps in this race. I believe, it's only 133?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, so if this goes green from the beginning, these laps are going to tick by quick, as you saw in practice, sitting 22.5-second laps. That's about, give or take, 2.5 to 3 laps a minute. This race will be done in 45 minutes to an hour if everything goes green.
And as is typical of short tracks, we're going to have 2 laps of pacing here rather than the usual 1 at the tracks of longer configuration. Of course, these drivers a number of them coming off the rather chaotic but certainly a lot of fun to observe races from last week in that Mark Sabetka birthday bash at Tsukuba Nationals. Of course, who'll forget the go-kart road course section. Of course, the go-kart track itself These drivers now are going to go back to a little bit more conventional racing. It's going to be interesting to see how these drivers, whether they force the issue early on here, if they're going to kind of settle it out, figure out who is where, and get themselves into a bit of a groove here. And also got to bear in mind as well, possibility of green flag pit stops here tonight. And Richmond's one of those tracks where you can lose not only one, maybe even 2 laps on a pit road, depending on where you are in the field when you hit the pit lane. Here we go, though. Green flags in the air. We're racing here tonight at Richmond International.
As they're side-by-side going down into turn number 1. Looks like through the entire field. One car all the way up the track. I believe that's the 82 machine of Victor Valley. He just scrapes the wall off turn 2. Everybody's trying to get sorted out behind him, as we're still 3 wide with them.
Still double wide up here at the front as well. Side-by-side for the lead, side-by-side for third, side-by-side for fifth. Sean Butler, wide entry there into turn 1, pinches the 222 down, but not quite going to be able to get the runoff of 2 that he wanted. They still stay alongside each other going into turn 3. Jonathan Oates loves this. We've got some smoke lingering there in 3 and 4, but we're still under the green, so no caution for whoever that might have been. Still dead even into turn 1 for the top spot.
Yeah, if I'm Jonathan Oates right now, I'm chilling right behind them. Let them settle this out, burn off their stuff a little bit. As I say that, they get single file, and Oates is going to make the move for second. But the more you run side-by-side at this track, especially on the opening run, the more your tires are going to wear out. As you see the 73 getting loose on the bottom, just trying to pick up the throttle a little too much too early.
Sliding back in that third position, Jonathan Oates, Rudy Valentine right behind him in the 78, and then about a Darlington half back to 5th place running Matthew Zwack. New colors for the 02 here this evening out of Speed Incorporated. We're used to seeing Ryan Naraki behind the wheel of that machine, but teammate Cosmin Shinoshu stepping behind the wheel of the Reese's Ford Mustang here tonight, and of course that being the reason that they're trying to keep that machine up there in the owner's points. The 02 was 12th in owner's points coming into tonight's festivities.
Yeah, and that car just reminds me of one of my favorite paint schemes when Kevin Harvick ran his Reese's car back in 2007. Just love that car. But behind him, there's a whole gaggle of cars, I believe for, I want to say 8th on back, as the 47 finally clears that battle. And you get stuck on this outside lane and you have cars coming on your inside, you're going backwards.
That car that's on the outside right now would be the 035 of Brent Pancari, our winner from Talladega earlier on this season. He's going to slot back now to around the 11th position, now under fire from Gary Waterworth going into turn 1. Looks like he just can't keep his car pinned down to the inside. You talked about that 47 making his way up into the top 10. That's Matt Spalding. This is at least the first time that we've seen him here in the series on FRN. Gonna have to check back and see if he's made any previous starts this season, but right now taking it to Nathan Rapido and gonna move up into the 7th position.
Yeah, and very clean, courteous racing in the first 8 or 9 laps of this race. I guarantee you, though, there's a restart with 15 to go. You will not see this type of racing. Everybody's just trying to keep their fenders on it like we talked about on the pace laps. You know, long way to go, but before you know it, the end of the race is coming up.
Just checked back, and Matthew Spalding's making his 6th start on the season, coming off his best finish, which was back at the Monza Oval. Of course, that was a race that the driver we're looking at right now, Rudy Valentine, went on to win. Of course, Rudy trying to make enough starts here and make up enough points to get himself high enough in the standings for that win to count towards a spot in the playoffs. Sean Butler, Jonathan Oates, drivers like that ahead of him. Looks like they're going to be making their way in easily. Of course, Oates had the win. Butler's been very consistent and up there right now in the point standings. So we're starting to get an idea here with 5 races remaining of who are going to be those playoff contenders. But there's still a couple of drivers just outside of the playoff grid that could make some last-minute moves. There's some interesting tracks coming up here as well to be able to try and make said moves, including next week when we head to the Art of Bricks in Indianapolis.
Yeah, and Indianapolis, you know, it is not necessarily a heavy braking track, but it's very draft oriented. You got to make sure you have a lot of corner exit off turns 2 and 4. Unlike here, where you know you can have damage here and still be running quick. The Brickyard, on the other hand, at Indy, you're not really. You need the front bumpers on that car.
talked about Brian Mercurio and Umar Diallo starting towards the back, outside of the top 20. Slowly, they have been making forward progress. Both have picked up 7 spots since the drop of the green flag. Now both trying to make their way around Brent Pancari. This will move them up to 13th and 14th respectively. So he talked about drivers respectfully making their way by other drivers, and that's obviously been the case back here as well. Not really blazing to the front are either one of these Toyotas, but they are indeed making forward progress.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that I've been looking at is they're not flying towards the front. They're taking care of their stuff. And that's what they're going to need to do for the rest of this race until they get up front. And then they're like, okay, you know what? We showed our speed getting through the field. Now let's show our speed at the front of the field.
Right now, top 5 have been able to break away. Actually, correction, now make it, no, it is still the top 5. They have about a second between themselves and a second group, which is right now being led by the 047 of Matthew Spalding. So if you're these 5 drivers, are you just content to ride in line right now? Because the lap times are certainly looking good for them to continue to grow their advantage back to that 6th position. And, you know, as I said, in this league, Richmond, they're very well known for long green flag runs. So, you know, settle it amongst the 5 of you. Don't bring anybody else into the conversation.
Yeah, I think they're very, you know, it's early enough to where, like, okay, we're pulling away. We know what we've got. Now let's see if, you know, anybody charges up from the back. Let them use up their stuff. Have everyone kind of in this under blanket top 5 to just take care of everything. I think they're pretty content. They know they're not going to win the next lap, so they're not making any crazy moves. And you see, like, the 78 getting to the back bumper of the 73. He's not looking underneath or anything, giving him plenty of room and stuff like that. Not really forcing the issue, and that's the definition of patient racing.
17 laps in. Of course, Richmond a short track, so we're starting to get into the realm of another thing that short tracks bring to the table, and that is lap traffic. Robert Dorman in the 46, about maybe a little less than half a straightaway ahead of these race leaders, and we're going to have the traffic get more and more in volume the longer this run goes on. It's going to be something these drivers are going to have to deal with. First time that Alex Kalaks in that 222 is going to have to deal with dirty air since the drop of the green flag.
Yeah, and dirty air can play a major factor here, especially on the older tires. Sometimes when you don't get that clean air onto the grill, the car doesn't want to turn. And I had the same issue in a race.
Oh, we got a spin!
Ooh.
We might have a caution. Victor Valle and I believe Kazuma Nishinoshu have had issues on the back straightaway. There is the yellow flag. Another driver I think may have been around the area was the 4 of Nate Stewart, but the yellow flag gonna fly for the first time here tonight, 20 laps into this run.
Yeah, and that's gonna not hard impact for the 0-2, but definitely some damage they're gonna have to repair. Another thing they're gonna have to worry about is an overheating issue. He hit decently square on that front end, so we'll see if the radiator's knocked in a little bit. Even if, you know, the thing is on iRacing is you see basically everybody coming down pit road. The thing is with iRacing, even if you get all your damage repaired, you could still be hurting for temperatures and stuff like that. And that's one thing that you really have to worry about.
It's like a total of 7, possibly 8 drivers elect to stay out. As you alluded to, though, everybody else coming down pit road. Race leader Kalanick is one of those that decides to stay out, keep his track position. Jonathan Oates, Rudy Valentine as well, so they'll be the top 3 when we go back green. Gary Waterworth now up to 4th. Brian Mercurio also stayed out, so move him up to 5th. Victor Valle, Kyle Lawrence Short, Justin Malello, Andy Margot. Those 9 drivers electing to stay out, keep their track position at this point in time. First driver down pit road and first driver out, it looks like. Although I'm not necessarily certain that he even took service, is the 018 of Umar Diallo. He might have actually missed his pit stall.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's going to really affect him. Like I said, it's early still. But with these guys, you know, there's 4 sets of tires for this race. So I believe there was 1 set on the car and 3 in pit road. You're only going to have to, I believe you're only going to have to pit once. Because I believe there's it's full fuel, right, Seth?
Yes.
Okay, so it's full fuel. Roughly, you can go anywhere from 70 to 80 laps, give or take. I could be completely wrong, honestly. But either way, if this goes green now for, say, another 50 laps or so, the guys that pitted are sitting pretty. Because before that caution came out, the tire fall off was about a second.
And I was checking to see here where the choose cone was for these drivers here tonight. Didn't really exactly see where it was. Of course, we know that played big dividends back in the Nashville race when driver then race leader at the time, Brian Mercurio, did not make it to whichever lane he chose just before the commitment cone, so choose cone. So we'll try and find out if we can where that choose cone is. It might be somewhere to do these hashtags on the back straightaway here, but getting ready to go back green flag racing nonetheless, as Alex Kalonix has led every lap so far here tonight, and he will lead us back to the green flag here at Richmond. Keep an eye on some of those fresh tires back there. Sean Butler in the 10th position would be the highest of those with the fresh Goodyears.
They are 4 wide going down into turn 1. Oh my. That
Yikes.
is you usually don't see that work out of Richmond very well, but here come the guys. Oh, big wreck in the back.
Oh, that's Kyle Lawrence Short spinning right in front of, I think that was Chris Nemitz.
Oh, the 48 come hard hit, just comes flying in there.
That's Andy Margot. At least 3 drivers with some pretty significant contact there. Correction on the 52, it's Casey Nemitz. I believe I called him Chris Nemitz. My bad on that one there, but that was just a case of everything getting really stacked up with the old tires holding up the fresh tires and the fresh tires having little to no room to maneuver through. Even when they got that 4-wide situation settled out, they were still 3 wide in about 3 different portions of the field.
Yeah, and the 47 car of Matt Spalding just escaped that. He gassed it up off turn 2 right before the 51 ended up getting turned. If the 47 didn't get a good launch off too, like he did, he would have been turned in the inside wall as well.
It was the 18 of Matthew Zwack that got the 51 in the right rear quarter panel. Looked like the 53 of Justin Malello might have gotten a piece of it as well. And saw there Andy Margot trying to get on the brakes, and looks like just I don't know if the car snapped on him or if he had the wheel turned to the left, but slid hard into that inside wall. And no fast repairs to save these drivers. Whatever damage you've got here in the early stages, you're going to just have to ride out with it till the checkered flag.
Yeah. Which, I mean... Oh, maybe the 48 got hit, because I'm looking at his in car, and the car just... Oh, yeah, the 48 got hit, slowing down for the wreck.
That would explain why he came sliding in with such velocity.
Looks like he got hit by he got hit by the 46, actually.
That would have been Robert Dorman then. So, up right there for Andy Margot. I'm almost wondering too, and obviously, I'd like you to weigh in on this. A lot of times we go to short tracks. You don't necessarily have to have a beautiful looking race car for it to be competitive, but if you kind of look at Richmond in relation to, say, a Bristol or a Martinsville, the straightaways are somewhat longer, so there might actually be a little bit of a detriment having that damage aero-wise with just how lengthy the front and back stretch might be.
Yeah, but you know what? The good thing about these short tracks is even if you have that aero damage going down the straightaways, yeah, you're not really going to have, you're going to scrub off maybe 2-3 miles an hour down the straightaway, but you'll be able to corner it better, actually, through the center of the corner and off, if everything goes as planned. So, if that's the case, then it kind of evens out a little bit.
Well, Sean Butler, on that restart with that 4-wide move that we saw going into turn 1, picked up 4 spots from 10th up to the 6th position. He'll be on the outside of row 3 for this upcoming restart. We'll see what he can do, as he's going to have 21 lap fresher tires than the drivers up ahead of him. Kalonix back up through the gears, easily going to clear the 73 of Jonathan Oates going into turn 1. Oates in turn, they're going to try and cross him over to the inside. Lot of room left open by Kalonix, and Oates was willing to fill it.
Yeah, as there was almost contact in the back between. It looked like the yeah, as we're 3 wide going into turn 3 again. These guys with fresher tires know that they have to start moving, and if they don't start moving, then it's going to end up evening out. Or they could get brought up in another wreck as you got cars hitting the apron going down to turn 1, trying to find every inch of real estate. This track isn't that wide. For the racing lane, at least, you got about 2.5 car lengths, car widths, I should say, as a racing line. So it's really hard to pass on these restarts.
Way up the track went Rudy Valentine, trying to make it 3 wide for the lead. Contact as Oates slides up into the driver's side door of Colonics. Brian Mercurio back there 3 wide with Butler and Valentine. We also had him 3 wide around the 11th position moments ago. Evan Rice was on the top side of that. How quickly things changed. He got back to the bottom. He's actually moved his way up to the 8th position.
Yeah, and Spalding is trying to follow Butler through that middle line as the 78 just shuts the door on him. That might stall the 47 out just a little bit, trying to get up through these guys, but you can see the difference in fresh tires. That 32 can go anywhere, as the 47's 3 wide now, trying to pull the same move that Butler did.
And let's see what Sean Butler's going to do here with the race leader, as look how Spalding was able to attack turn 1, tucks right in behind the 32 once again. And how patient can you be if you're Sean Butler right now, because you've got fresh tires behind you, actually into you there, as the 32 is sent up the racetrack. Spalding going to put him on the top side 3 wide. Mercurio on the bottom. Things are really wadded up for the race lead.
Yeah, the 32 got in the wall down that whole front stretch, and you saw just how much momentum killed itself. But you go caution. Back.
We got a caution.
Oh, no.
Casey Nemitz in the 52, back in, I believe that's the middle of 1 and 2. Got another car down in the apron up ahead. That's Brent Pancari in the 035.
Let's see what.
Oh, and they're wrecking again over in 3. That's Victor Valley in the 82.
Uh-oh. Well, that, oh boy.
Third time tonight that the caution's going to come out. Let's go back and document everything that happened from the second corner over to turn 3.
Under caution. What is going on?
Well, here's what happened to initially bring out the yellow flag. Oh, Victor Valley getting pretty hot there into turn 1. Gets the 52 of Nemitz, and then also clips up the 46. I want to keep an eye up here on the 82. There might have been some payback.
Oh, yeah, there was.
Oh, yeah, Robert Dorman. Not happy with the 82 of Victor Valley. And then you talked about some more follow-up. Let's see what happens here.
Yeah, heard it over comms that they were wrecking again.
Oh, yeah, then the 52 hooks the 82 around. So both Dorman and Nemitz not very happy with Victor Valley. And boy, I mean, you know the old adage, Tom, short tracks breed short tempers. It only took us 35 laps to get to that point here.
Yeah, and that is something that people need to, and I'm just going to chime in here. Victor Valley was given an EOL penalty after literally getting spun twice under that caution. So I believe he was the reason for that wreck, though.
Yep.
35 laps in, you know what? You've got a little under 100 to go, and there's a lot. Like, I understand that. Okay, you're frustrated and everything, but I wouldn't be doing that. Like, you can cost yourself points and whatnot, whether it's driver points, owner points, if you're in a substitute car or whatever. Like that, I've learned from my experiences that don't retaliate. And I don't know I don't know what ended up, what the, I guess, payout that's going to be. Like, okay, you wrecked him under caution, but he's getting an EOL anyway. So, yeah, you're not frustrated. You're like, yeah, you're frustrated, but what's the point?
Yep. Well, I mean, it makes for great TV. There's no doubt about that. But hopefully cooler heads will prevail here, as we've still got about 90 some odd laps to run here at Richmond. It's going to be Matt Spalding that's going to be leading us back to green. Sean Butler to his outside in second. Nathan Rabideau, Evan Rice in third and fourth. Tristan Hagenstein is going to complete the top five. Just to update as well, all those drivers that had elected to stay out prior to these first three yellows, they all came down pit lane. So now they're going to have fresh tires. The highest of them, Brian Mercurio, and pole sitter Alex Kalanick. They'll be restarting back in row 6 in 11th and 12th. One thing I'm looking at here in terms of frustration, this early on, if you look at the rest of the racetracks we're going to before the playoffs begin, there's really no other venue where you can issue payback in terms of a short track. I mean, we're going to Indianapolis next week, Michigan the following week. Then we're going to Bathurst, which was going to originally be this race here tonight, but it got swapped with Richmond on the schedule, and then we have the regular season finale at Darlington. So maybe outside of the Lady in Black, there is no other track that you can really issue payback to another driver.
Yeah, but you know what? Like, if I was any of them, and it's like the pot calling the kettle black right here because I've been known for my retaliation from time to time. It's not like I don't know, man. I would, you know what? It's short track racing. It happens. Now, if this happened at a speedway where that happened, and yeah, I would kind of be annoyed too. But I mean, it's short track racing. You're 35 laps in. I understand you're annoyed and everything, but like, come on.
Well, Casey Nemitz was, as we saw, one of the drivers getting his revenge, if you will, on Victor Valley. Spun him out in the front straightaway, stated his case, and then brought his car to the garage area. Looks like he'll be finishing 28th here tonight. This DNF could effectively be taking Casey Nemitz out of playoff contention as well. He was 24th in the standings coming into tonight's event, 407 points out of the points lead, and with only a handful of races left here in the regular season, not really sure we're going to be seeing that 52 be able to make a late season charge to get up into the postseason battle for the championship. Green flag back in the air, lap 40 complete, 93 laps to go, 3 wide further back again. That's the fresh tires of Kalanick trying to make some forward progress. 4 wide behind it with Mercurio in the middle.
I was about to say, yeah, we're 4 wide again, and I'd watch out for those guys. I'm telling you, tires are going to be a big thing this race. Watch that 73 and the 222 trying to work their way through the field. Especially some of these guys weren't really up there on the first runs. They're 4 wide down the front stretch again. My goodness.
And remember that Kalanick, he spent most of this race up to this point up at the front in the clean air as Tyler Williams stuck in the middle there of a 3 wide, almost 4 wide situation. So you got to wonder how that 222 is going to handle in traffic, having to deal with braking zones ahead of him other than his own.
Yeah, and that was another thing that, like you mentioned, looks like caution's out again.
David Cabrera in the 38 has looped it around on the apron of the front straightaway. Looks like at least from this vantage point, might have been a solo car incident.
No, the 035's involved also, it looks like.
He came to a stop.
Okay, he just came to a stop.
We might have dodged a bullet there.
Yeah, what? Ooh. Yeah. 38 was just in a wrong place, wrong time. They ran out of racing room. That's it. It looks like a single car accident.
Little contact with Zach Hudson and then off the nose of Waterworth, but relatively light contact between all 3 of those drivers.
Relatively tamed caution.
Yes.
I guarantee you give it about 50 laps, there won't be any more tamed cautions. At least going from my experience at Richmond and other short tracks.
So with that caution coming out, that is going to put AJ Henderson back on the lead lap. We did have a couple of drivers that fell a lap down after contact sustained in a number of these incidents. I saw for a brief moment that Kazuma Shinoshu was a lap down, but I think he got the free pass under the last caution. Henderson gets the free pass under this yellow flag, and now the only other driver that is still running that will be off the lead lap if he returns to the track would be Robert Dorman, but he still sits on pit lane getting repairs done to his car, currently 9 laps down to the race leaders. So as we work our 4th caution of the evening here tonight at Richmond, Matt Spalding showing the way. We're going to step aside for a quick commercial break. You're not going to miss a bit of the action here as we will stay FRN side by side.
Welcome, race fans. This is Paul Page, the voice of IndyCars. And today we're excited to present another IndyCar event brought to you by the Dark Horse IndyCar Series. From the Unzers to Mears, Foyt, and Andretti, now it's Corley, Peterson, Davies, Gardner, and T. You can expect high speeds, incredible wheel-to-wheel action, and intense drama that you could only get in an IndyCar. So sit back and enjoy your favorite drivers from all over the world take the track. Dark Horse IndyCar drivers, start your engine. Welcome, race fans. This is Paul Page, the voice of IndyCars. And today we're excited to present another IndyCar event brought to you by the Dark Horse IndyCar Series. From the Unzers to Mears, Foyt, and Andretti, now it's Corley, Peterson, Davies, Gardner, and T. You can expect high speeds, incredible wheel-to-wheel action, and intense drama that you could only get in an IndyCar. So sit back and enjoy your favorite drivers from all over the world take the track. Dark Horse IndyCar drivers, start your engine.
Lights out atop the pace car, the indication we're going back green flag racing here at Richmond International Raceway, closing in on 50 laps into tonight's festivities in the FTF Grand National Series presented by Barr Visuals. Matt Spalding going to lead us back to green, Sean Butler in second, Nathan Rabideau, Tristan Hagenstein, and pole sitter Alex Kalanics lead us back here for the restart. Butler with a great jump, going to tuck right in behind the 47. Now looks for the top spot into turn one. Drove it really deep there into the first corner.
Yeah, and Seth, we were talking under break that you were surprised. You were surprised that 62 car really hasn't made any moves. Well, you know what? He started on the inside lane that restart, and he's already making moves, trying to go 3 wide underneath the 98 as the 18's on his outside.
So there, Sean Butler got really loose on the inside off of turn 2. We were observing these guys in practice, and a lot of drivers were having difficulty getting the power down and the grip in the rear tires off the second corner. We haven't seen a whole lot of that so far here tonight in race conditions, but you just kind of get the feeling that the more that the aggressiveness kicks up, the more we are going to see the loose sensation for these drivers off the second corner especially. Yeah,
especially as the tires wear too. You're going to get a lot of guys trying to put the power down to where they thought they had fresh tires, and they're going to hit those same spots, and it's going to loop them around or, get them loose off the corner. Especially down the front stretch, too, coming off turn 4. You can get loose down the entire front stretch putting the power down, and it's not a fun feeling.
Tristan Hagenstein, who sponsors tonight's event, of course, had that great run at the previous short track of Nashville, finishing up inside of the top 3. And again, another solid outing for him here tonight at Richmond, trying to hold off Alex Kalanics for the 3rd position.
And look at that, the 222. I mentioned it under break that I give you 20 laps and he'll be back to the front. He's already battling for P3. The 018 makes it 3 wide, goes back to 2 wide now as they come off turn 2.
It's Umar Diallo, who is trying to have an 18 car go to victory lane in back-to-back seasons here at Richmond. Last year it was Graham Boland who went to victory lane when we ran Richmond International in the inaugural season of the FTF Grand National Series.
Yeah, and that 222 of Alex Kalanics trying to make the move on 2nd place, Sean Butler, but Butler just, the tire difference really isn't that much, as you can see. The 018 just sent it in there.
He did. That was a 3 wide situation for a moment. Butler was able to clear the both of them, so it settled out to just a side-by-side battle for 3rd, and now Jonathan Oates back there looking 3 wide on Hagenstein and Mercurio.
Yeah, and Kalanick just couldn't get to the right rear of the 32 car of Butler to try and make the pass coming out of turn 2. Gonna try again, a little contact in between the 018 and the 22.
Whoa, whoa, whoa!
Wow. And
I don't think Kalanick was all that thrilled about the 18 sliding up into him. And there was follow-up contact off turn 4. Kalanick, though, paid the price for it because he's the one that got the wall.
Yeah, he definitely wasn't happy about that. Heard it over comms literally right before they came off turn 4. The 222 directing at the 018. Come on, relax. So tensions are rising here as we're coming to 75 to go, give or take.
Yeah, not even halfway, and we've already seen tempers hit the boiling point here this evening, as now some hard racing for the 4th position with Mercurio on the inside and Kalanick's on the top side. A driver that's done a great job of working his way back up to the front. That's the 4 of Nate Stewart, who of course was involved in our first caution of the day back when Cosmin Ishinoshu had his issue off of turn 2, was off the nose of the 4 machine. So nice comeback run so far here for that Toyota Supra.
Yeah, I've been watching Nate work his way through the field. Different pitch strategy than what certain people are on, and he's really benefiting from that. He's just keeping his car clean, trying to work his way through as much as he can. I don't think he has a car to win tonight, but I definitely think he's got a top 10 car.
Battle for second. Umar Diallo to the inside of Sean Butler, trying to see if he can move into the runner-up position. Brian Mercurio hopes he will, because he'll be more than willing to fill in the hole that Diallo leaves if he does complete the pass on the 32. Mercurio sticks his nose in there. Diallo can't quite get the power down through the center of the corner, and Butler will hang tough on the outside for at least another half lap.
Yeah, that 62 car, though, wants the 18 to clear Butler, trying to fill the gap, and he did a perfect job right there. All right, the 018 just got by him on going into turn number 3. 62 is able to keep his nose there, and he gets by him as well.
Umar Diallo making his 9th, or make that 10th start on the season here in the Grand National Series, has 3 finishes up inside of the top 10, 2 of them up inside of the top 5, and no surprise that a couple of those good finishes came at short tracks. Had a 6th place at Iowa, and his best finish of the season, 2nd place at South Boston.
Yeah, and him and the 62 machine are running about 0.2 quicker than Matt Spalding in the 047. So those fresh tires, even though they're not that much of a difference, they are paying dividends right now.
Saw Jonathan Oates there make a late move to the inside of Alex Kalanick. That's the 2nd time Kalanick has had somebody make a move on him more than midway down the back straightaway, and that's a bit of a risky move there, isn't it, obviously, because there's no guarantee that that car behind is going to notice you're making the move to the inside, could possibly chop you off, not even realizing that there's a car to the left rear quarter panel.
Yeah, it's definitely a tricky situation with, making the move halfway down the straightaway, but you know what? It's better than making the move going down into the corner.
Alpha, the lead is on. Matt Spalding enjoyed the view out in front, but he's going to have to give it up as Umar Diallo is going to move to the point. Brian Mercurio right there with him now, going to try to move into the 2nd position. So we had a Ford out in front for a good portion of this race. Chevy took over with Spalding, and now it's the Supras out in front here, P1 and P2.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised, though, if Kalanick got back to Diallo. See a little contact made. Kind of settled into 5th right now, just riding behind Butler. See if he can start making his way back up. As touched on him earlier, Nate Stewart trying to go underneath the 73 of Jonathan Oates, trying to get that 6th position, just can't put the power down coming off turn 2.
A lot of guys up here inside of the top 10 that are battling for playoff positions. Nate Stewart amongst those. Jonathan Oates locked in with his win. You've got Sean Butler up in the 4th position. Nathan Rabideau right there with Rudy Valentine. They're battling for the 8th position. Both of them trying to make their way into the playoffs. And I also noticed that bright orange 98 back there of Evan Rice, flickering just outside of the top 10. He's a driver who comes into this race 15th in the overall point standings. So right around the cusp of inside of the playoff grid and having a solid outing here tonight in that Popeyes Chevrolet.
Yeah, he really hasn't made much noise tonight, and you know what? Sometimes when you're at a short track, that's the best way to do it. Just be consistent, run your race, and try and salvage and try and benefit from other people's mistakes, as a lot of guys in front of him have gotten into each other and everything. He's kept that car clean, though, and I'm very impressed with how he's running this race, and I think he's definitely going to have a top 10 finish if everything goes according to plan.
Saw a pass around the top right there. Really surprised this long into a run that the top side still had enough grip for Rudy Valentine to get around the 93 of Nathan Rabideau to move him up to the 8th position. It's looking to me, is there some smoke, like some hazy smoke over there out of turn 4? I don't know if that's just the lighting or not. It might be from the 46 sitting on pit road, but it's playing a little bit of tricks with my eyes.
I'm seeing, well, first of all, speaking of passes, we got a battle for the lead right now, but touching on what you were saying, yeah, there is definitely a little smoke right before the start-finish line. I don't know if a car got loose or something, or spun out towards the back of the pack, where it was only a single-car accident and they were off the track to where, you know, no caution was going to come out. But what I'm really impressed with is this 62 car. He's not running in the tire tracks of the 018. He's kind of diamonding that corner, taking that Jeff Gordon approach where he diamond the corners at Martinsville to get a straighter launch off. That's allowing him to keep a great run down the straightaways. Yeah, he's losing it in the corners, but he just sucks right back up towards the end of the straightaway.
Brian Mercurio, of course, a driver in the FTF Cup Series, battling for that championship this season, but comes down here to the Grand National Series to run in the 62 a number of races for Speed Incorporated, a 3-time winner down here this year in the Grand National Series at Rockingham, Dover, and Auto Club. We saw him last week hand over the reins of this machine to Blake Reynolds, and then saw Mercurio piloting the 25 car. Kept that car up towards the front for most of those events as well, but back in the driving duties of that 62 and trying to hunt down Umar Diallo for the top position, but losing a little bit of ground there the longer this run goes on.
Speaking of somebody that's trying to... Oh, the 4 of Nate Stewart just sends it a little too hot into turn number 1, slides up the track a little bit. The guy I've been watching on this run, slowly, methodically working his way through the cars, keeping his fenders clean, is that 73 car of Jonathan Oates. Kind of backed off towards the beginning of the run, maybe saving some stuff towards the end of this run as we're coming down to, I believe, 58 to go this time by. So I believe everybody's going to have to pit one more time.
There's Jonathan Oates going coast to coast for his first career win about a month and a half ago at North Wilkesboro, securing himself a spot in the playoffs. As my goodness, there was nearly a wreck back there as the 222 almost went off the nose of the 047.
Yeah, and that's just a situation where two guys are trying to get the same real estate. Unfortunately, the real estate's not big enough for two cars. So, you know, either one's got to give or they make contact. It was the latter of the two there, and thankfully the outcome was both of them continuing on.
Just outside of the top 10, you've got a number of Fords. Tristan Hagenstein's Mustang there to the inside. Kazuma Shinoshu, who apparently that damage that he had nosed it into the inside wall there on the back straightaway hasn't affected him too badly, as he's going to make his way around Hagenstein up to the 11th spot, and he's bringing second in points Andrew Schwartz along with him. Of course, Schwartz started this race all the way back in the 23rd position. This is typical Andrew Schwartz, start towards the back and work his way to the front, making good progress, up 11 spots from his starting position, now to the 12th spot, getting around Tristan Hagenstein.
Yeah, and, you know, he's not the only one that started towards the back. The front two guys, they started right in front of him in 21st and 22nd, now running 1-2 as Cosman makes the move on Evan Rice for that top 10 spot. A good bounce back for him as they're side-by-side going down to turn 1 for the 10th spot.
That's where the side-by-side battle is in the field, the highest up in the field for that 10th position. A couple of orange machines, one Ford, one Chevrolet, going to duke it out for the final spot inside of the top 10. Give it to Kazuma Shinoshu off of turn number 4. So far, for most of these drivers, they are about 45 laps into their tire run. A number of drivers that stayed out under the previous caution, though, they were about to hit their 60th lap on these Goodyear tires. And you saw even right there Nathan Rabideau getting really loose off the corner. So these drivers are starting to feel the lack of grip in the back end of these machines. With 53 laps to go, I'm assuming, Tom, that they cannot make it the rest of the way on fuel. So what are we looking at for these drivers in terms of coming down pit road? Did they maybe split this final run in half and maybe come down in the next 4 to 5 laps?
Honestly, I would, if I were them, I would probably, so they ran a little over, coming to what, 50 laps on their tires, give or take. So if I was them, I would pit with roughly 40 to go, maybe less than that. Obviously the guys that pit, that have 60 plus laps on their tires, I would pit around with 40 to go, if they have to pit at all. But definitely with about a second to a second and a half fall off under this run from their fastest laps, I don't, it's kind of a, pick your poison type thing, because you know what? It's a short track. You pit early, you get that bad luck of a caution coming out. Well, guess what? Now you're trapped a lap down. You have to take the wave around, maybe even 2 laps down, depending on where you're running. Gotta take a wave around, and then you're starting behind those guys anyway. So, maybe a lot of these guys are trying to run it as long as they can, maybe to catch a caution, but who knows?
Right now, Umar Diallo, he's only running about 9/10 slower than the fastest lap that he's laid down here tonight. His fastest lap of 22.661, and the last time by he ran about a 23.590, so he's starting to approach that second of fall off here as he enjoys almost a second back to the 62 of Brian Mercurio. And, well, we talked about it earlier. When Kalanick's had to deal with lap traffic, well, the tail end of the field is fast approaching for that 018.
Yeah, and that could change the outcome of this race entirely. You get a bunch of cars that are battling side by side for position, and if you're the leader, you run up on them. You either got to work your way through it as fast as you can, or be patient and try and wait for a hole. And if you choose the latter of those 2 options, that could bring second, third, fourth right to your back bumper.
Victor Valley in the 82, the car that we see here on board the gyro cam of Umar Diallo's Toyota. Up ahead of him is Kyle Lawrence Short, those 2 drivers on the very tail end of the lead lap, and you can see just the closing rate there through 3 and 4 alone. Umar Diallo maybe gained 6-7 car lengths on that wounded 82.
Yeah, and the 018 really doesn't have to worry about much lap traffic right now. He's going to have, the way he's catching these cars, it looks like it's going to be, pass a car here, pass a car there. Once he starts lapping up to, say, 22nd, 21st, stuff like that, they are all in a pattern. And if that doesn't pan out, he's going to have a rough time.
So he's going to clear Victor Valley easily. Brian Mercurio trying to get up there to get around the 82 to set his sights back on the race leader. Close proximity racing here between 3rd and 4th place. That's Sean Butler trying to hold off the points leader, Jonathan Oates. But this has kind of remained about a car length gap between these two, so I don't really think Oates is forcing the issue at this point in time.
No, I think he's just, he is the points leader. He knows that going into this race. I think if he comes out of here with a nice solid finish, top 5 finish, say, I think he'll be happy with that.
Now, we talked about the pit strategy. You were touching on that. If you're someone like Alex Kalanick's back here in this 222, I mean, you're only making your 9th start on the season. You're more than likely not going to be able to compete for the championship here this year, even if you win here tonight. So, you're going into this race with 1 goal and 1 goal only, and that's take the checkered flag. Would this be a guy that might try and leapfrog some of these other drivers, maybe try to come to pit road a couple laps, maybe even as many as 10 laps sooner than the top 4 to try and gain some track position with the fresh tires?
Yeah, I mean, if you got nothing to lose, why not? You have a fast car. You're about 5 seconds back about 6 seconds back from the leader now. I'd give it a shot. You got nothing to lose. You're not battling for a championship. Really, the only chance you'd have to get in the championship hunt is if you win. So, you know what? give it your all, throw everything at the wall, see if it sticks. And if you catch an unlucky break, you catch an unlucky break. That's how racing is.
Double wide ahead of the race leader here. Kyle Lawrence Short and Andy Margot were battling for the 24th position, and they blocked both lanes through 3 and 4. So Umar Diallo had to wait till that settled out to be able to bypass the both of them here now through 1 and 2. But that's a nightmare if you're the race leader, because that actually allowed Brian Mercurio to gain about 2 to 3 tenths on that lap.
Yeah, but luckily there was only 2 cars there. He got by one of them. Then he got by the second one with relatively no issues. They kind of sorted it all out. And now, if they get side by side again, the 62 car is going to have to deal with them also.
Yeah, last time by a 24-1 for Diallo, 23-8 for Brian Mercurio. I'm actually looking, and the driver that is laying down the most consistent lap times outside of the clean air that Diallo is using to his advantage is that 67 of Andrew Schwartz. He's now up to the 9th position. He's got Rudy Valentine and Nate Stewart just up ahead of him. So with the pace he's setting right now, the next couple of laps, we could see Andrew Schwartz up as high as the 7th position.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to have enough time to, say, compete for the win, but he's definitely taking care of his tires this run. And I think it's paying dividends for him as he's kind of marched his way through the field. Like you said earlier, started 23rd, kind of his routine, starting towards the back, working his way up. But I'm telling you, that Subway car is looking real good up inside the top 10. Might have to make me go get some later.
Yeah, he was the points leader when FRN came on board here for the season, but ran into a streak of bad luck and lost the overall points lead to Jonathan Oates. Still, though, second in the point standings at this point in time, 56 points behind Jonathan Oates coming into tonight's event and putting together another nice run inside of the top 10 in 9th place. But Oates currently running in the 4th position, so he will continue to gain some ground on the 67 after tonight, heading into Indianapolis next week. Mercurio clears himself of the traffic, so now nothing but racetrack between himself and Umar Diallo for the time being. Diallo starting to reel in Rich Jameson in the 86, however, and behind them, Sean Butler, Jonathan Oates continue to run nose to tail as they make their way around Andy Margot, but things very, very spread out right at this point in time, nearly 10 seconds separating the entirety of the top 10, little battles here and there through the top 15.
Yeah, and as you were saying that, the 67 of Andrew Schwartz got by Nate Stewart and the 78 of Rudy Valentine. So move him up to the 7th position. And you know what? I think he can crack the top 5 before this race is over after pit stops.
He's got about 2 seconds to make up on Matt Spalding, who is running just behind 5th place Alex Kalanick. There you see the difference between those 3 drivers. It's about maybe, 2/3 of the straightaway, I think, separating all of those drivers, as Andy Margot got really loose there off the corner. And, this is a point as well where these drivers may not necessarily be pushing it, but these rear tires have got to be worn down, and so they are feeling that loose sensation off the corner, being very careful with the throttle control, just how much power they get down off corner. Do not want to spin those rear wheels. 66 laps into this run for our race leaders.
Yeah, and Omar Diallo just ran the fastest lap of anyone on track by about a 10th, give or take. That clean air is really helping him, not having to worry about anybody in front of him, as he's honestly just getting faster now.
Right on board with our race leader, and just watch the wheel motion here. Not a lot of counter steer off the corner. Holds the wheel relatively straight down this left-handing turn, front straightaway, if you will. Nice and smooth through 1 and 2. Let's see how he gets it up off the corner. Not a lot of jerk movement there. Pretty methodical with the wheel. So that car is still handling pretty much to his liking. Not really seeing him have to fight the back end of the race car at this point in time.
Yeah, and that's what you want in these types of this car along the green flag run. You want to be nice and smooth. Make sure you don't wear out those tires. Don't oversteer or anything like that. And as long as that goes well, you'll end up in the position like he is, running 2/10 quicker than everyone else in the field.
One thing I'm noticing with him, and I don't know if there's anybody in the field that's doing. A lot of times, I remember that drivers at Richmond, they like to short shift going into 3 and 4. They like to bring it down to third gear and then bring it back up to fourth gear about maybe a third of the way down the front straightaway. Maybe the fact that with the setup and the fact they don't have that rear grip, it's kind of taken that out of play for these guys. They're not wanting to run the risk of the wheel spin and shifting from third to fourth.
Yeah, so definitely when you shift down into third with these cars, it just launches the RPMs all the way up, obviously. And when you have that RPM spike, when you're like, say, halfway on the throttle coming off the corner in fourth gear, but if you shift down to third and you're halfway off the throttle, you will carry much more speed, and right there could honestly mess up your races. Looks like there's contact on the track in front of the leader.
That is Justin Malello, and I believe David Cabrera exchanging that contact there. Cabrera was involved in an earlier incident on the front straightaway. Malello getting a bit of the Cosmetics no-shoe incident on the back straightaway, so both those drivers have had to fight some slightly damaged race cars for a good portion of this event. Right now they're mixing it up for the 21st position. I mean, this race, it's kind of been the tale of two different segments. The beginning of this race, we end up seeing the caution come out for a total of 4 times, but for the last 75 laps, we have remained under the green flag. So, you talked about the fact that kind of prepare for both the situations, long green flag runs and the short spurts. No doubt about it, that's what these drivers had to do because they've gotten the best of both worlds.
Yeah, and that's what brings out the best in, the best drivers, is being prepared for both sorts of runs. You've got the 018 of Diallo. He was decently quick on the short run, but when the long run came around, that's when his car really kicked in. And if you're decently quick on the short run, but really focus on your long run, you'll be sitting golden. If you're fast on the short run, you kind of just have to wait for a late race caution to really pick off as much as you can.
Take a look at this bright yellow Toyota. That's the 189 of A.J. Henderson. We talked about him earlier on tonight, but we mentioned him because he got the lucky dog back under the third caution of the evening. Great run for him as he's worked his way through the field. Just took the 11th position away from Nathan Rabideau. Yeah,
very, very good bounce back day for him as we're coming to, I believe, 21 to go right now. So, like I said earlier, this race goes green, it's going to fly by. We're not even an hour in, and we got 20 laps to go. So, very patient day for him. Comeback day, nicely done. And honestly, he can escape here with a top 10 if everything goes well.
And it's almost seeming to me now that if none of our drivers up here inside of the top 10 have come to pit road at this point in time, I don't think any of them are planning to come to pit road from now to the checkered flag. I think basically they have the fuel to make it. They're just making sure that they have the tires to make it.
Yeah, but if you get that late race caution, you're going to see everybody come down pit road, and you're going to see fireworks on the restart. But let's get to that. If we have to get to that, right now, Diallo opens up the lead to roughly 4.5 seconds over second place of the 62 machine. And if no caution comes out and barring all lap traffic, the 018's got this in the bag.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He has been running lap times anywhere from 0.6 to almost a full second at some points over Brian Mercurio, setting a blistering pace and been doing a great job as well in working his way through the slower traffic. The best battle on track right now is going on just outside of the top 10. This is 12th back to 15th, where Nathan Rabideau is dealing with Evan Rice, Tristan Hagenstein, and Gary Waterworth. The reason we're focusing on this here is because talk about the possibility of a late race caution. Well, usually at a short track, it's where the field's all bunched up, where you might have to look for that possible contact to bring that yellow flag out.
Usually, yes, but I mean, at speedways, that's really where the majority of the cautions are going to happen. Honestly, at short track, you could have a 2-car battle, and next thing you know, the caution's out because one of those 2 cars spun.
A little contact there, though.
Well, the little contact, that's all it takes. And we got a good battle for 6th right now, actually. Schwartz is on the back bumper of Spalding, as 2 positions in front of him. Oates has caught the back bumper of Butler.
Yeah, looks like he's finally decided to challenge for that 3rd position. He's been kind of riding in the tire tracks of that Pennzoil Ford for a good portion of this run. Drove it really deep there into turn 3. Couldn't get to the left rear quarter panel, and I think he's trying to make the move now because they're starting to catch up to traffic like Malello, and I believe that's Rich Jameson there as well. 3 wide as they're going to stick the 53 up to the top side.
Yeah, that was a good move by Oates, trying to pin that 32 of Sean Butler behind a lap car, trying to set him as a pick. Didn't really work his plan, and now you saw the 73 as he was driving towards him, was diamonding that corner. Once he was on the inside lane, couldn't diamond it anymore, and you can see the 32 just roll right by him on the outside again.
Don't know how much we need to read into it, but you saw there the 86 of Rich Jameson ducked onto pit lane. Not certain if he's just one of a few drivers that can't make it on fuel, but there could be some late race fireworks in terms of who has the fumes to make it the rest of the way, as we are at 11.5 laps to go here down the back straightaway.
Yeah, and it looks like a 4-tire and fuel pit stop for that 86 machine. So this could play out into other people's hands. You know, the guys that pit, I believe, 15 laps after the other guys, they might be sitting pretty. And you see guys, I know the 62 machine, he ended up pitting, he was under the last caution, I believe, right? He pit after the 018?
I believe he was the caution before the last, if I'm not mistaken. I think he pit under the 3rd caution flag.
Okay. So either way, if Diallo pit... what is going on back here? Sorry, my bad. If Diallo pit before the 62 machine, and if the 18's close on fuel, you know the 62's good on fuel.
Right now, they both pit on the same lap.
Okay.
The driver up inside the top 10 right now that has the best chance of making it to the finish if everybody here is short would be Andrew Schwartz in the 67. He last came to pit road back on lap 45.
Yeah, so he's definitely good to the end if everybody else is close. I don't know how close they are. I haven't done an Xfinity race at Richmond in a long time on full fuel because, unfortunately, the other leagues I run in don't use full fuel. But we'll see what happens as we got less than 10 to go.
In this battle for the 3rd position, it continues to be hot and heavy. Sean Butler got his hands full not only with Jonathan Oates, but his own race car as he was really loose there off of turn 2. Oates continuing to try and see if he can get to the inside. He'll be able to get alongside the 32 on the inside. He just can't seem to be able to get the power down to complete the pass on corner exit. Butler pinching him down there, not allowing him any space to get some runoff of the corner. And going to hold him off in his rearview mirror, at least for another time, is Sean Butler. Behind them, though, we got some mixing up going on there between a couple of Toyotas. That's AJ Anderson, Rudy Valentin. That's for the 9th spot.
Yeah, and AJ has made a, like we touched on earlier, great comeback, now inside the top 10, battling for that 9th position with Rudy Valentine. I don't think he's going to be able to move much farther up unless there's a, big mistake by Cosman or Spalding. But a 9th place after being a lap down halfway through this race, that's a solid day in my book.
There's a couple of drivers that really have got some worn Goodyears, I do believe, here, as they have been really drifting through the field. As a matter of fact, they're in danger of going a lap down here. The 93 of Nathan Rabideau we saw up inside of the top 10. He's fallen back to the 18th position, just a few car lengths ahead of our race leader Diallo. Also the 12 of Gary Waterworth. He was up inside the top 10 back on lap 20, lap 25, and he's now back in the 16th position. I mean, you've got a number of guys. Matthew Zweck there in the 18. These are guys that have been up inside the top 10, top 15 most of the night. They're now in danger of finishing this race -1 with 3 laps remaining.
Yeah, but you know what? There's 3 laps to go. If I was Diallo, you have a 7.5 second lead. I wouldn't push the issue. Now 2.5 to go. If the case presented itself, yeah, okay, get by them, but I'd be perfectly content just sitting behind these lap cars and chilling, making sure you don't get into anyone and possibly costing yourself a race.
I agree with you on that, but another thing he wants to do, he wants to make sure that he turns as fast lap times as possible, traffic or no traffic, to get around to that white flag. He does not want an opportunity for a caution to come out before he gets the white flag and send us into overtime. He's finally going to reach that white flag here, so now he can go into conservation mode.
Yeah, and right now I wouldn't even bother trying to pass that 18 machine or the 12. And honestly, great run by him. Great job saving the tires. I'm kind of intrigued to see if the 73 is going to move to 32, though, going down to 3.
We'll follow that in a minute as 18's going to almost flip it around there.
Oh, he straightened him out, though. Good.
Straightened him out.
Wow.
Butler trying to save it. Here comes the 222, trying to capitalize. And
ooh, big wreck.
I think Oates gave the spot up. I think Oates allowed the 32 to finish ahead of him in 3rd place.
He did, but Butler was not happy with that, and he tore up a lot of cars after the fact.
Umar Diallo had to muscle a couple of machines out of the way to get up here to pick up the victory, as he'll now try to make his way through the carnage through 1 and 2 before coming around to do some burnouts. Oh, actually, he's not even going to worry about making another lap. He'll just turn that thing around, head back towards the start-finish line. Back-to-back seasons that an 18 car goes to victory lane here in the FTF Grand National Series at Richmond, but it's Diallo picking up his first career FTF Grand National Series victory here tonight in the Tristan Hagenstein Photography 200.
And you love to see the 18 car going back to victory lane. It's bittersweet seeing it. I have a bias towards 18 cars and other cars of those sorts, so it's good to see a Toyota Supra bring it home.
As he burns it down, let's go back to turns 3 and 4 again, because we caught the tail end of that battle between Sean Butler and Jonathan Oates coming back to the start-finish line. We'll get a more in-depth look here of the move into the final couple of corners. Oates puts the bumper to Butler. Butler able to hang on to it. A little bit of assistance there from the 73. And watches Oates going to back off the throttle. Allow Butler to get the spot. But as you alluded to, even doing the gentlemanly thing, Butler not very happy putting the 73 into the wall. And then a bunch of torn up race cars afterwards there, including, I think that was the 38 that was in the mix of that, of Cabrera, and then also the 222, our pole sitter, Alex Kalanics.
Yeah, and I don't, you know what, that was the right move by the 73 to give the spot back. If, you know what, Rubbin's racing, it is what it is. But if that was for the win, I guarantee you he wasn't going to give that spot back. But it was for 3rd place. Either way, they came out with the same finishing position if they didn't do it, so it works.
Well, 4 cautions in the first 40 laps of this race, but then green flag from there on out to the checkered flag, and Umar Diallo, no doubt about it, he had a strong car on the long run, opened up over 9 seconds. Back to Brian Mercurio coming back to receive the checkered flag. Mercurio gonna bring it home in the runner-up spot, so more owner points there for that Speed Incorporated Toyota. Sean Butler back-to-back top 5s in his career here at Richmond with a 3rd place run. Oates will keep his points lead, finishing 4th, and Kalanics, after starting on the pole, will finish in the 5th position. Andrew Schwartz fought his way up through the field there on that long run, cracked the top 10, almost cracked the top 5, so finished 6th. Matt Spalding, good run for him in just his limited number of starts. In 7th, Rudy Valentine continues to try and climb his way through the points in hopes of a playoff position after his Monza win. He gets 8th. AJ Henderson, who was a lap down early on this race, got the free pass. He'll get a top 10 in 9th. And Cosmin Ishinoshu, who brought out the first caution of the day, nosed it into the inside wall in the back straightaway. He's going to bring it home with a solid top 10.
Yeah, and then you have Nate Stewart finishing 11th. Brett Picari, I'm sorry if I butcher anybody's names. He finishes 12th. Tristan Hagenstein 13th. Evan Rice just couldn't hang with the tire saving, finishes 14th, and Lucas Pelosi, or Pelosol, something like that. He finishes 15th, and the rest of the guys finishing roughly one lap down, except for Matthew Zach in 16th and Gary Waterworth in 17th.
Yeah, Nathan Rabideau, tires were not friendly to him on this long run. He falls back to finish in 18th. Still, though, I think he'll be solidly up there in the playoff picture. Tyler Williams, Zach Hudson, those were other drivers that all fell a lap down to the race leader. And then a number of these guys back here, like Short, Margot, Valet, they all had to deal with damage during the course of this race. Casey Nemitz was officially the only driver to finish this race behind the wall. Robert Dorman finished this race on pit road, but both of them over 130 laps down. Tyler Gary was scheduled to start this race. He did not, however, take the green flag, so he'll be officially scored in 29th here tonight. 28 drivers officially took the green to start this evening's festivities, but only one driver took the checkered flag at the end of the night, Omar Diallo. We'll be talking with him in just a moment, but we got to talk with a couple of other drivers that were chasing him to that checkered flag. Let's see if we can talk with third place finisher here tonight, Sean Butler. Hey, Sean, it's Tom and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yes, sirs. How you guys doing?
Well, man, we're doing good. We got treated to a really good short track race here tonight under the lights at Richmond, but man, it kind of looked like the tale of two races. Early cautions there, some zany restarts with 3 and even 4 wide predicaments. Then it got into a long green flag run. So how difficult was it, knowing that you guys seem to be dealing with rear tire grip problems in practice? How difficult was it the longer the run went on to keep that car underneath you?
Man, I could have swore I had no right rear tire left for the last like 20 or so laps. It was dirt tracking everywhere, but I'm happy for the result. You know, I think I pit under the first caution on lap like 20 and then didn't take tires after that. So to go that long on tires and still kind of, you know, keep the car under me and finish, I guess, quote unquote, finish third after the last lap incident there with Oates. I mean, it's good for my season. You know, get 2 back-to-back top 5s is going to be good for me. So all in all, I wouldn't say it's a bad night by any means.
Yeah, and Sean, piggybacking on what Seth asked you, if you pit under the same caution as Diallo, do you think you had anything for him moving forward?
I think I did. You know, he's come such a long way, you know, since last year. You know, he's my teammate over at Dead Zone, and he's doing fantastic things in Road to Pro this year. So really cool to see what he's been able to do. I think I might have been able to keep up with him. I don't know about, you know, passing him. He was just really fast all night. But I'd like to say I would have had something for Brian, I guess, at least. You know, we were kind of reeling him in, you know, later because he was trying to run the top and see if that was working, and it just kind of killed his tires a little bit. But Omar is just very consistent, you know, the whole race, just not overextending himself. And I wouldn't have been mad with a second place finish if I finished second to him. But overall, he was the car to beat tonight. I think I had some decent speed, but overall, not quite sure if I had stuff for Omar. But like I said, I'll take the podium for sure.
Like I said, Sean, we got treated to a lot of things that short tracks are known for, and obviously we know the old adage coming into short tracks that the short tracks, they'll breed short tempers. Didn't have to wait long to see those tempers flare in this one, but talk about that incident there on the final lap through the last couple of corners between you and the 73. You know, we saw a little bit of contact again coming to the start-finish line. Was that all in fun? Are you too good, or is there going to be maybe some follow-up here heading down the home stretch of this regular season?
No, I think we got it out of the way there. You know, he kind of gave it to me there, and I kind of returned the favor a little bit. You know, coming to the line, he was letting me go, but I just wanted to show I wasn't too happy with the move. He didn't mean to do that at all. I know Oates is not a dirty driver at all. You know, he tried to move me, you know, typical short track thing, but you know, he tried to do it at the entry of the corner, which rarely works. So you got to really do it in like the center, kind of nudge him a little bit. But he almost full throttled me there. It kind of seemed like he did. He hit me pretty hard, but. I mean, we're still good. I mean, like I said, I just wanted to kind of, you know, let him know. Wasn't really too happy with it, but I was expecting it a long time ago. I mean, I'm pretty sure you saw you guys following our battle for what seemed like the last 100 laps or so. But he got under me a couple times. We didn't make any contact, so he could have, if he really wanted to, wreck me or move me out of the way or whatever, he would have done it a long time ago. But no, I think we're good now. So we both got our lumps in at the end of this race, and all in all, we're still able to both get top fives out of it. So I think we're good, but I don't think you expect any retaliatory stuff. I mean, it's completely unintentional on his part.
All right, well, still good numbers for you here in your career at Richmond, as you alluded to, back-to-back top 5 performances, continuing to make the case for yourself to lock up a spot in the upcoming playoffs, and got Indianapolis on the horizon as well, so going to be looking forward to seeing what you bring to the table at the Yard of Bricks. But for the time being, we're now going to give you the opportunity for some thank you sponsors and shout-outs.
Yeah, appreciate you guys always putting on the broadcast. You guys always do a great job, and always watch these back, and they're always very well done. So kudos to you guys for putting on a great broadcast. Everyone at Dead Zone Racing, as I said, teammate Omar wins the race, so congrats to him. Total Advantage, everybody over there, Landon Huffman, always providing some great services on iRacing, doing great things. Everybody on Bottom Split, all my guys over there. So going to be doing the Cup race tomorrow, so be sure you guys are watching out for that. But yeah, overall, pretty successful night. Happy with where I ended up, and looking forward to next week. It's the road course, so I'm kind of iffy on that, but we'll try to sort things out and try to be a contender for the win next week.
That's Sean Butler, P3 here tonight at Richmond International Raceway, and looking to continue to ride this momentum down the home stretch of the regular season. Congratulations, Sean.
Thank you, guys.
Let's see if we can now talk with tonight's runner-up finisher, Brian Mercurio. Hey, Brian, it's Tom and Seth up here in the FRM booth. Got me?
Hello.
Well, I mean, it was easy to find your car on the track here this week. We're so used to seeing the 62. I had to get used to in the 25 last week. But, man, great second-place run for you here this evening. We saw that you were able to hang with that 0-18 at the initial restart there just before we ended up going green to the end. But looked like you started to fall off just a little bit. What are some of the things that you were dealing with that lost you some speed?
I was trying some stuff, racing with Barr, trying to run the top in the middle, trying to get a run off. It was working a little bit in the beginning, but if I couldn't get around him, I knew I didn't have the raw pace to compete with Omar in a long run, so tried to see if I can get back around him. I couldn't, and running the high line like that burns your tires, so I knew unless I got a caution, I was probably just going to walk away with it, which he did, and I was just kind of riding behind at that point.
Yeah, man, and we saw you just trying those different lines. You were trying to, just find something else. Do you think trying those different lines kind of wore out the tires a little bit more, or, trying to work your way through the field after that last caution hurt them a little more than the 18?
I was just trying to run those different lines. When you try to do, I was just trying to enter the corner kind of in the middle lane and get a run off, get a super late exit, try to exit straight. But when you do that, you burn the rear tires super easy, and it's also kind of easy to slide the front tires because you feel like you want to throw it in pretty deep. So I just burned up the rears, and rear grip's so important here. After like 15 laps or so, I kind of realized I burned stuff off, and I'm not good at Richmond anyway, so I was pretty much just making sure I just finished second. That's all.
Well, from what I remember last season as well, Richmond had a long green flag run in it, and we didn't really exactly know what the fuel window was for you guys, but a lot of you guys up there at the front, you were able to make anywhere from 88. Some of these guys were able to make it over 100 laps on what they had in the tank. So, at what point of this race would you guys have been good to go on fuel? Like, how many laps could you really stretch it on a tank? How close were you guys to running out at the end?
I think I remember with like 10 to go, I checked, and I had like 25 projected, so if that run had gone like 15 or 20 laps longer, maybe that would have come into place. But from when Omar and I pitted, I know early on there were guys that were off cycle. Sean, Alex Kalonix, a few of those other guys that pitted on the initial caution. And then yeah, so I think we just had a little bit of a 10, 15 lap buffer over them, and with the cautions kind of factoring in, it never really came into play.
Well, Brian, nonetheless, great run for you here tonight. We know that you're continuing with a number of other drivers to keep that 62 up there at the top of the owner points. So this will continue to obviously help you grow that points lead in the owner standings over the rest of the competition. So congratulations on that. We're now going to give the opportunity to thank some sponsors, do some shout outs.
Thanks to you guys for putting on the broadcast. FTF, all the admins for showing up, running the race tonight. Dalen Barr Visuals for sponsoring the series, sponsoring my car, sponsoring me as well. Lowline Racing. That's about it.
Brian Mercurio brings it home, second place here tonight at Richmond International. Congratulations, Brian, and best of luck to you next week at Indianapolis.
Thank you.
And we're looking to see if we can talk with our race winner. At this time, I am not seeing Umar Diallo available for an interview, so we'll give him just a couple more moments here, see if we can be able to talk with the driver that brought it home for his first win of his career here in the FTF Grand National Series. But I mean, obviously, as I stated there when we were talking with Brian, last year as well, the Richmond race that they had here, we ended up going into a long green flag run, so we ended up starting to see the comers and goers, who was able to save their tires, who really abused them, and we saw that again here during the course of this race. We saw the guys that moved their way up to the front, like the 67 of Schwartz, the 189 of AJ Henderson. On the flip side, guys like Watersworth and Rabideau, they weren't able to keep the grip underneath them, so obviously a lot of drivers going to have to kind of use this as a bit of a learning curve, I would think, especially with the fact that when you look at the schedule coming up here for the playoffs, I mean, there's a couple of tracks we're going to where it is going to be all about tire conservation.
Yeah, I mean, Indy, you're going to have to worry about tire conservation a little bit. Michigan, it's kind of like a secondary auto club, so I can see the guys that were good at auto club being good there. Darlington is kind of like here, but bigger. I don't know if I put that into words very well, but it's a very tough track, and it's another track you're gonna have to worry about tires and keeping your fenders on. So I don't know, man. It's definitely gonna be interesting moving forward.
It's going to be fun to watch these guys next week at Indianapolis as well. I know that track doesn't have a whole lot of banking, so sometimes tires can come into play, but I think really next week it's going to be all about aerodynamics for these drivers. Not necessarily a super speedway race, but especially with those long straights, you're going to see drivers utilizing the draft.
Yeah, and like I said at the beginning of this broadcast, you're going to have to keep the fenders on at Indy and Michigan. Because those are primarily draft tracks. Michigan more so than Indy, but I mean, Indy's with those long straightaways, you're going to have to, have as much aerodynamics as possible.
Well, it looks like, unfortunately, we are not going to be able to talk with our winner here tonight, Umar Diallo, but our congratulations to him on the victory here this evening in the Tristan Hagenstein Photography 100 at Richmond International Raceway. Tom, it's been a great one here tonight under the lights at this short track. We've seen a little bit of everything that short tracks are known for here tonight, and a great battle there at the end between a couple of drivers for that third position. Certainly a mainstay on this schedule that has brought about great racing in the last 2 seasons. Appreciate you joining me in the booth.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to be up here. I know I'm not up here as much as I want to, but you know what? When I get the call, I'm always happy to help out and come up.
Thanks to everybody that tuned in to our coverage here tonight. Hope you guys enjoy it. We see you guys next Saturday night at Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the Mug and Bun Grand Prix at the Brickyard. Green flag scheduled to fly at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For Tom Bourne, I'm Seth Cole. We'll see you guys next week as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.